future, talk radio will actually educate, inspire, and make you think. The future is now. Topics and music that affect your life from Universal Broadcasting Network. Tune in at ubnradio.com.
We're not gonna take it. No, we ain't gonna take it. We're not gonna take it anymore. We're not gonna take it. No, we ain't gonna take it. We're not gonna take it anymore. Just to try and make us.
Hey there, everyone, and good evening, America. This is your host, Alan Lissauer from Financial Sanity Now. Today I have on again with me special guest, Ariana Choquette.
Hey there, everybody.
All right. Let's slow down there. Okay?
Appreciate it.
All right. She's a certified personal trainer and a good friend. Remember, and she just won't leave this show alone. Okay, remember everyone out there listening, but this is not my show, and it's not Ariana's show. This is your show. Let me say that again. This is your show, the one place you have that you can complain, that you can get answers to your problems. We have no interest in politics here. We don't care if you're a Democrat, a Republican, a Libertarian, a Socialist. What we want to hear is your consumer problems. We want to hear you get angry. We want to hear what makes you upset.
They're bad, worse than bad. They're crazy. It's like everything everywhere is going crazy, so we don't go out anymore. We sit in the house, and slowly the world we're living in is getting smaller, and all we say is, please, at least leave us alone in our living rooms. Let me have my toaster and my TV and my steel-belted radios, and I won't say anything. Just leave us alone. Well, I'm not going to leave you alone. I want you to get mad.
And I want you to get mad. And I want you to call us at 323-524-2599 or text us at 310-384-4352. Share your stories, your complaints, and get some answers. Today we have three topics, and I'm going to have to go quickly because these are three big topics. We're going to try to get it in on time. But last week we couldn't because there were so many call-ins. This evening, we're going to go over these three topics. The first one is student loan debt. Now, we know it's an issue. We know how many people are reaching out to students to try to help them. None. We know that people could go bankrupt from student loans even before they have a chance to move forward in their lives. Did you hear that? Students are being victimized in a vicious cycle. We're here to shed light on this issue and help students find ways to live debt-free. Topic 2, we're going to talk about small business regulations. Now, we hear a lot about regulations. We hear from the government today, we're going to deregulate a lot of things. Well, some people don't like that, and some people do like that. And we're going to talk what we think are good to deregulate and what we think it's good to have regulation. Okay, Ariana has run into several regulation issues on the lower levels of government where she was almost stopped from putting together a studio. So we know many of you out there have small business. You've run into similar, if not worse, problems. If you're being stopped by regulation, we want to hear from you. We know how to talk to the government. We know about regulation, and let's make this an open forum. The last thing we're going to talk about is FICO credit scores. We're going to try to make this interesting because most people don't even know what a FICO score is. I mean, people go out on dates, they're single, and the first thing they ask someone is, what's your FICO score? Well, the reason they're asking this is because without a good FICO score, you're not going to rent an apartment. You're not going to get a house. You're not going to get a good car, okay? Because that's how much our society is using FICO scores. So most people don't have any idea of what a FICO score is. And most people don't know what it means, how it affects you, how it affects your score, or better yet, how to affect it. We're experts at this, and we've got a lot of information to share with you. So for those of you who are calling when you should be texting, please call the number we give you right here when you have questions, okay? Call us at 323-524-2599. If you want to text us, you can text us at 310-384-4352.
So it
I
sounds
think
like
there's a
a caller on the
already.
line. Yeah.
Okay, that's great. We see what topic they're interested in talking about.
Hey, you're on live. Go ahead and tell us your name and where you're calling from.
My name is Daniel Mamos, and I'm calling from Los Angeles, California.
Hey, Danny, how are you? It's Alan.
How's it going, Howard?
Good. I'm glad you called in because Danny, I want to introduce him, and I wanted him to call, and I'm glad you found the time to call because Danny knows about student loans. We just introduced the topic a little bit ago, Danny, about how there's over $1.4 trillion in student loans and how the delinquency rate is soaring. Am I right with those figures?
Yes.
All right. And Danny's worked with student loans quite a bit. So do you mind if we ask you a few questions for our listeners out there?
Of course.
All right. Let me start with the first question I have in mind. You actually tried to explain this to me once. What's the difference in student loans? Some are federal and some are state or some are private. How does that work? Can you tell us?
There are either federally lent loans or there's also a private sector, private student loans as well.
Okay, so for instance, my daughter has a loan with Sally Mae. Is that private or is that government?
Well, typically, if they're issued a 4-digit FAFSA PIN number, it's typically a federal loan. It sounds like a federal loan, but it could be private as well. But more than likely, it's probably a federal loan.
So for those people listening out there, if you have a 4-digit passcode, it's probably a federal loan, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
More than likely, if you have a 4-digit FAFSA PIN number, it's going to be a federal student loan.
But you'll find out for people when they call and we talk to them, right? That's one of the
Correct.
first things you want to know. Now,
yeah, there's a website where we could go on and retrieve all federal student loans.
okay. All right, we're not going to do that right now because I have more questions for you. We have limited time. So the next question, which is better for me if I'm looking to kind of get rid of this loan or do something about it? Is it better for me to have a federal one or a private one?
Well, the private side is they're a little bit more strict and stern. When you have federal loans, there are a lot more options out there. We pretty much work with government programs.
Okay.
It's through the Healthcare and Education Reconciliation Act of 2010.
Okay.
And in most cases, we're able to lower their monthly payment and offer some type of loan forgiveness through the government.
Oh.
Okay, so through the government, that's possible, but there's a lot of things surrounding it. Because the things I've read, and I don't know as much as you do, is that it's not easy to have that happen. Is that right or wrong? I know it's really even hard to bankrupt these loans.
Yeah, well, due to the complexity, to meet eligibility requirement, it's, there's a lot of things that we could do on our own, but to get the best results possible, typically that's why people come to us.
Right.
Because obviously they want the best results possible. And it's not an easy thing to do. It takes about 90 days to fully consolidate the loans with the government.
Okay, well, that's interesting. So, again, everyone out there, our number is 323-524-2599. Or text us your questions, or go to our website at www.financialsanitynow.com, because we know when the lines get crossed here, we're not going to get everyone in on the questions, but you can get these answers from us later. So, Danny, a typical person, if you think you can, are there monetary requirements? If I'm earning good money, like $80,000 a year, do I still have a chance to get rid of this loan?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, it's based off a certain percentage of what you make yearly. There's a lot of factors, your family size, but two of the main factors that, at least with the government programs, what they look at is your income, what your adjusted gross income is,
Okay.
and also your family size.
Okay, so there's some hope for people out there, right?
Definitely.
Definitely
I
hope.
would honestly recommend these programs to anyone that has federal student loans.
Is there an amount, like if you have 10,000 or 50, or it doesn't matter?
Typically, we like working with clients that have over 8,000 on federal loans, but
that's most people.
you know, it just it really depends on the situation. But typically speaking, probably over the amount of 8,000.
Okay. Danny, I really appreciate you calling in today, and I know we'll have people who have questions for you as well. For those of you who want to talk more. Okay, I'm getting a signal from Ariana here. I'm not even sure what it is, but maybe I'm not talking into the microphone. Is that it? Thank you. Okay, Danny, I want to thank you very much, and we will talk again soon. Okay, thank you.
Sounds good, Alan. It was a pleasure. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for coming on.
Bye,
We appreciate
Danny.
it.
Not a problem. Bye.
Okay, bye-bye. Well, that was great. I mean, we just
We
got
have another caller.
Another caller.
Oh, we'll
Okay.
hop on live.
All right.
Oh.
Hello, caller.
Never mind. Oh, never mind. We don't have another caller. Let's just go back into our
Okay,
next
well,
topic.
we really didn't get too far in here before we had a caller, but that was really good information. So I want to go over this again. $1.4 trillion in debt, delinquency rates rising, tuition costs have risen dramatically to add to the cost for students. I'll give you some examples. The pensions, the average pension at UCLA and the university is over $100,000 in pensions. All these costs add up and wind up costing money for you, the student, for your tuition cost. I think I mentioned to Ariana when I went to school in a state or city school, we didn't pay. I mean, if you had good grades, you'd get through 4 years of college without anything but paying for books. So it's changed when we have to face it and we have to deal with these facts of student loans. So when you're forced into a student loan, as we just heard from Danny, there are some ways to move around. Okay. And I'm not looking at the camera. Okay, it's my second show. So, okay, great. Let me move my papers as well. Very obvious. Okay, the way student loans are, you're given a student loan and they tell you, okay, you don't have to pay for it till after college. During that 4 years that you have that student loan, do you know it's accruing interest? So the $15,000 by the time you've graduated, it's probably close to $20,000. So thank you very much for the loan, and now it's gone up 25%. All right, so we're offering solutions to this. I want to say a few more things about student loans. One, it's very hard to bankrupt them, okay, and that was in the 2005 bankruptcy law. Okay, and okay, we're adjusting that a little bit. Perfect. Okay. The other thing I want to mention to you about student loans is don't take them unless you have to. Try get a scholarship. I know that sounds silly, but there are other ways. There's other ways to get aid to go to school. Okay. Now, the loan forgiveness programs we spoke about with Danny are possible. Don't talk to your servicer directly because they will run you around. They don't want to forgive the loan. They make money on every loan they're servicing. So you want to talk to an expert. And to do that, go to our website, put in your name. But you really do want to talk to an expert about this because these are very complex negotiations to make it work. There are programs out there. That's the good news. Okay. The other good news is that we're here. But the problem's getting worse. It is. And it affects all levels of society. As it gets worse, we have people graduating with heavy debt loads. That's not a good thing for all of us. I know when you graduate college, you have to excuse me, everyone. My nose is itchy. Okay. When you graduate college and you're in debt, it's much harder to buy a condominium even or anything like a small house. And if you're in other parts of the country, you could take that $30,000 and put it down on a house and own it. But you can't when you're in this much debt. The delinquencies are rising. The amount of debt is rising. So we need a wake-up call. The government is not helping us with this. They're not doing it, okay? In fact, in the New York Times, there was recently an article that the loan services have been faulted for actually telling people incorrect information. Now, you can go to the website for the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. They oversee complaints on student loans. I will tell you by going to them, good luck. No, you can. No, seriously, you can, and you'll get a response. But things are slow. They have so many complaints, and they're understaffed. So with more than 41 million borrowers, that's a lot of borrowers, you can imagine that they're swamped with complaints. But I would still complain and try to get some information from them. Okay, one of the things they've said is that borrowers told of problems with services like sloppy patchwork practices, including lost paperwork, misapplied payments. Now, I want you, no matter what you're doing now with your student loan, I want you to go to your service and do this one thing. Tell them you want a copy of your original note. Because these things get sold from place to place. And we want to get a copy of the original note. If they don't have that copy, they don't have a note. And without a note, they can't really collect. And we don't know where some of these notes are. So, again, I'm just going to sum this up really quickly. You can call us at our 323 number. I mean, at the 323 number for the studio. Ariana, could you repeat that number for everyone? Your voice is nice.
If you want to call us in live to ask any more questions, please call us in at 323-524-2599. But if you have any questions you'd like to ask Alan directly, please text in at 310-384-4352. Again, that number is 310-384-4352.
Okay, thank you so much for that. We're going to go on to our second topic because time is moving really quickly. The second topic is about regulation. Now, regulation's an interesting thing. A lot of people want it. They want it for everyone else but themselves. So we do want regulation when it comes to our air. We all want fresh air. And I would tell you, being in Los Angeles for the last 20 years, the air has gotten a lot better. And that's because of regulation. When I grew up in New York, the East River, you'd see rats swimming in it from all the trash. Today, I don't know who's swimming in it, but it's a lot. I know it's a lot better.
From rats to swimming. Hopefully there's no toxins in that water.
we hope not. But I think we'll all agree that with water and air, we want to have regulation. It's an important part of it. And then we have a story in New York City where under Mayor Bloomberg, we try to regulate the size of a gulpy or a Slurpee. And they said, no, you can't have any 20-ounce. Does anyone remember that? Because I do. Anything more than any 20-ounce Slurpees, any cup that was 20 ounces. And, you could get two 10-ounce ones, but you can't get a 20-ounce one. That's kind of an absurd regulation. I personally am against the government telling me how much soda I can drink. I don't drink soda, but I almost wanted to go out and get a 20-ounce soda just because of that. So that's real overregulation, and we have a lot of that going on as well. Ariana has run into several problems when it comes to regulation. When she's a manager, she's an executive trying to open up a studio in Woodland Hills, and she's run into some difficult problems with zoning. And I'm going to ask her a couple of questions. If you could tell us, just give us a summary of what happened when you were trying to open the store. Can you give us a little bit?
Well, quick summary is that it is an exercise studio. We're a class-based gym, so we're not, a regular gym where people are coming in, who need a lot of parking. We're capped at 30 people per class. So we didn't think it would be hard at all to find a space that would allow us to go in, especially in a popular city. We're not anything abnormal. We're just another studio trying to open up and start some business and create some revenue. Well, as soon as we started looking into the city, we started looking into Woodland Hills because that's where the property rights we have are bought. And we started to realize that gyms, especially studios, weren't that welcome in certain shopping centers, especially popular shopping. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. And especially in popular shopping centers that we were looking into, which was going to really hurt, our business at the end of the day.
Can I ask you, was it a strip mall or was it a big center?
They were just centers. We found out later that it was more of a city ordinance. So it wasn't necessarily per shopping center. Okay. It was more of a city ordinance. So, and there we go with those city regulations again. They were hitting us before we even got in the game. We almost didn't start. And then we found out later, a couple months later, that the city of Woodland Hills was going to go and have a hearing and basically put some regulation up and say, was this worth regulating? They were going to allow a little bit more from some freedom for studios to come into the city and start setting up. But what we didn't know was they had labeled gyms and studios like yoga, spin bike, boxing, etc. Right? Those are normal studios, but since we're not a normal quote unquote studio, we didn't know, do we fall in this etc. clause? What does the etc. clause even entail? And why is there even an etc. clause? Why can't they just say etc. and there you go, everything gets passed? We had no idea where we were at, where we stood, and we had to do more research.
Let me just clarify this. Was this about parking?
In general, it was just a little bit about parking.
Just the type of place you were trying to open.
A little bit of both, because what was happening is they didn't want big gyms to come in and take over membership parking because people were coming in all the time.
Right.
To come into the gym, take the classes, etc. So what we offered was, we told the city, look, we're timed classes. Just like another studio would be, just like a spin bike class would be, just like your normal yoga class would be. So there's only a certain amount of people who can be in our classes at all times. We don't run classes all day, every day. No. We are not a 24-hour gym. We're capped for our availability, and we're capped for our amount of trainers that can even train and teach all day. So really, we're not this crazy gym coming in, and we were just trying to set up. Luckily, we were able to find a space. And once we did an extensive amount of research going into the city, following up with every single regulation that we could, I think I even mentioned it on the last show, we got applauded from some of the city council and some of the city members saying, thank you so much for putting so much effort into this, because most businesses don't even put this amount of effort.
So they give up and they don't open. Yeah.
Or they open up and they say that, oh yeah, we checked it. It was all looked into,
right.
And that to me is lying. That's lying to the people, and that's lying to the community. And if you're really here to serve the community, you're going to, get all your P's and Q's in check. You're going to make sure that you do have this. If you are here to serve the community, we have an honest mission, to say the least. Yeah. We went to a zoning hearing. And at the zoning hearing, a little bit of craziness occurred, wow. And we So we came in. We're trying to take over a little restaurant space, and not only did the restaurant people show up, someone else showed up who's also having zoning issues and was against our parking getting our zoning hearing getting before theirs, and we're going, what is going on here? We didn't even think that we would have much drama, let alone anybody show up besides us. And it turned into a little bit of a fiasco. And unfortunately, because some emotional issues were brought up that should have not been brought up in a legal matter. You know, there was nothing that we could have done about.
Like what? Sushi?
No,
Sushi issue?
they were just bringing up some issues that had happened that were not in our control, and they weren't really in the city's control either. They were mainly personal problems against the prior business. So, you know, regardless, we couldn't help them. We couldn't do much about it, and neither could the lady hosting the meeting, the zoning lady. She couldn't do anything about that. But
Right.
what she did do was kind of uncanny, was that she asked for like a 30-day grievance period to get it approved, which is normal. But she needed letters from us saying XYZ happened, XYZ this went down, so that all the parties were set up to know that okay, everything went through appropriately. But we didn't feel like that was even necessary because we didn't have anything to do with that issue in the first place. So why can the city tell us, well, we need another approval letter from you, from the owners of the shopping center stating XYZ? We should have just been processed through just like any other business coming to a zoning hearing. And luckily, after 30 days, so after more waiting, we finally got approval and we'll be opening up soon. So we're very excited about that. But this was a 2-year journey that almost didn't come true.
Okay, so that's interesting to me, not understanding everything you just said.
It's a little confusing.
Although
yeah.
I would love to understand it. But I mean, I had an experience when I opened my first business years ago. I opened a natural food store. And there were a lot of regulations around food. There's even more around food. And in San Francisco, we had what was called raw milk. You might know what that is.
Yes.
It's you don't pasteurize. It's really nutritious, especially the goat's milk. And we brought it in, and we were raided. I mean, they took all our milk and dumped
Can you
it
guys
out.
imagine a milk raid?
It was a milk raid, and they didn't get the good stuff though. But there was a regulation against that. The thing is, in Marin County, across Golden Gate Bridge, there was no regulation against that. So my question was, why is there a regulation in San Francisco but not in Marin County? Is pasteurization necessary for the health, or can it be inspected? Actually, you're a health expert. What tree am I barking up? Is that a sane question? Is raw milk a good thing to have?
No, you know, that is a normal question. That's not something that I would say is an insane question by all means. But just we live in a society that is completely, we're really hooked on our pasteurized milk. We're hooked on, we're really hooked on it.
And it takes everything out of the milk, right?
Well,
or
a few
part of it.
things,
Yeah,
so we'll play devil's advocate here. There's two
Yes,
sides to every
please.
story,
Right.
So I've heard very good things about whole milk, and I will attest that there are benefits to it, and you're going to get
Yeah.
a higher, dosage of protein and calcium. So there's that. But from another standpoint too, and this is why I would maybe argue for the raw goat's milk to be imported over raw cow milk, is because in general, humans we're very hard to adapt actually lactose, and it's hard to digest it.
Right.
That's why so many people are lactose intolerant.
Cubans? Did you say Cubans?
No, so many people are
I
lactose
thought you said
intolerant.
Cubans.
No,
I thought maybe you're Cuban now.
no,
I
I'm
don't
not
know- I don't
Cuban. And this is not a hate against any Cubans out there listening. No,
love the Cubans.
We don't have
We love
anything
Cubans.
against you and telling you guys are all lactose intolerant. No.
Well, my wife is lactose intolerant.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of people
She's
who
not
can't.
Cuban.
No, well, my mom's lactose intolerant. We're not Cuban, and it happens to a lot of people. So
Yeah.
there is that. So if you want to argue, it's so bad for you, we shouldn't be having it at all. No,
Right.
but do I argue that there's no health benefits? No, I know that there are health benefits to eating it.
So
it's
yeah.
a fine line. My question to you is, it sounds like this is a county issue almost. So
It
why
was a
is,
county issue.
So why is one county okay with it, and why is another county not okay with it?
That was our question.
Yeah, it's
of
a little
course,
crazy,
we
right?
went to the city and tried to argue the point because we were, young and naive, and we were all about organic. I even visited organic farms back then.
There's nothing wrong with that.
And no, it was good because certain people said they were organic and they weren't organic. And this was an unregulated industry. And so you really had to find out. And what we found out, and we were hippies back then, but we found out that some of the most conservative people in America were very organic. In fact, Deaf Smith Farms in Texas, all their peanuts were organic. All their wheat was organic. So there's a lot of people out there organic. I don't want to go into this too much, but in terms of regulation, it didn't make sense. It was a county issue. And we found out that raw milk, if it's tested, is fine milk for those people who are not lactose intolerant. So that was one issue. The other thing that we found out, and I'm just keeping on the topic of regulation, is vitamins. Now, the name of our store was Naturally High. And so we had our own vitamins, Naturally High vitamins. Now, the vitamins are made by the same company that makes all the vitamins. You just package them, put your label on them. And that's pretty much what's happening. And my understanding today is that they're not regulated. You don't know when they say it's a multivitamin and you take that pill, you're really not sure how they get all that nutrition into this little pill. I don't know how they get it in. Do you? Just quickly, do you have any idea?
A little bit.
We don't have much time left.
We don't have much time, but I can give you a little bit of my professional
opinion.
Do you think
that they're real, these vitamins?
Here's the thing. They're artificially produced.
Right.
And unfortunately, the body, there's a few things that go along with that. When anything's artificially produced, there's only so much that the body can absorb. So when they're packing these vitamins with all these nutrients, they're putting them in doses that are super, super high because your body can only absorb so much. And then on top of that, your body can only absorb so much what I call quote unquote fake nutrients because it's not coming from a real source. It's being produced in a lab. What happens at that point is that they need to dose them so high so that you basically can absorb just a little bit. So if you notice sometimes on vitamins it says 300%, but then your body can only really take naturally about 20% of that vitamin in, et cetera, et cetera. So what happens is these companies are able to put all these labels on things. And, the FDA really isn't taking advantage of what they can do to actually regulate some of these industries. They're really just kind of letting it go out. And unfortunately, what that is causing mainstream America to do is to buy all these vitamins thinking that they're really healthy for them. And unfortunately, they're just going through your system and they're getting digested out if they're being digested at all.
So to go back to the point, because we're not going to have this show just on natural vitamins, but we appreciate that. We know it's one of your fields. The point is, there's not much regulation there. And in this case, I would like to see a little more. There's also with beef. There's not much regulation there. We're supposed to have the FDA, and they're looking at the beef that's coming in and make sure we don't have mad cow disease. They do check, I think, 1 out of every 1,000 cows. But it's not much. So there's not much regulation there. In these cases, I would like to see a little more regulation. But that's just me.
I would too, especially when it comes to our nutrition and health.
And the main focus that I want to get across to our listeners, because we are running low on time, is that small business is the one that is really suffering. Small business is suffering. You, right there. Small business is suffering because usually you have 1, 2, or 3 people, and they have to deal with all these regulations. And a lot of them are frivolous. Could I tell you which ones? I will tell you many times it's parking. Many times it's codes within the building that you have to install certain things which are not necessary for your kind of a business. Many times it's signage. There's loads of regulations around signage. I'm not saying we shouldn't have some regulations. I'm just saying if we want small business to succeed, let's find a way. If you have a signage issue, let's have a way to cut through the red tape. Here, my sign can be 4x6 in this color. Boom, and let's get it inspected quickly. I know people have waited months to put up a sign because there's so much around it. So this is a major problem, and if you have any questions, you want to call in again. Our number is. Ariana,
I'll do our number. Do we have a caller on live? It looks like we have someone who wants to call in and talk about small business. Well, hello. Who are you and where are you calling from? Hello?
This is Mary calling from Winnetka.
Hi, Mary. How are you doing?
Sounds like there's children in the background.
Good.
Mary,
Good, yeah. I just wanted to call in because I saw a little advertisement for that you guys were going to be talking about student loans.
We actually did speak about them, Mary. Thank you for calling. Did you have a specific question?
Yeah, ask your question.
Because I just want you to know that after this show, you can find us on the website for UBN, Financial Sanity Now. Our show gets rebroadcast on the website. It's also going to be downloaded to on our YouTube station and what's that, Apple something?
Apple iTunes. If you want to
Apple
catch any
iTunes, but I
replay
just want to
information.
say if you want replay, but if you have a specific question, we'd love to answer it. We are going to go into FICO scores soon, so we'd love to answer your question.
Yeah, my question is, I'm surrounded by so much debt. I have a mortgage. I have a second mortgage, and then I have a lot of credit card debt, and on top of it, student loan debt. I don't know how I will ever actually pay this debt off. So, if I was considering bankruptcy, is that a feasible option for me?
I don't want you. How old are you? Tell me how old you are, please.
32.
No, I don't want you going bankrupt at 32 and ruining your life for the next years. Okay, so there are certain things that can be done. We could, if you have credit cards...
I guess my question is it possible?
To go bankrupt? It could be. It could be. It's very difficult. It is possible, but you have to be making under $50,000, and you have to have a severe hardship. Not a really severe hardship, not just that your income's lower or something like that. So it is difficult. You can contact us later at our 866 or our. Let me give you a number to call: 310-384-4352. But I am not going to recommend bankruptcy. There are other ways around this. Okay. So we should talk about those ways. We can reduce your credit card debt. Okay, we can. If you have your student loan is federally backed, we can work through getting that reduced for you as well. Okay, so I'd rather you go that route, and it's a detail. Well, thank you so much for calling. Thank you.
Thank you for calling in. We
and say
appreciate
hello
your
to
time.
that child in the background. We love children.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
All right. So, we've talked a lot about this so far, and I hope we have enough time to go into FICO. So let me get to that. FICO on day. Okay. We always make that into a little song. So what is it? What is FICO? Wow, silly name. It comes after a company called Fair Isaac Company. That's it. FICO, Fair Isaac Company. So this guy, Isaac, has a company, and he decides we're going to have a system where we can tell if someone's credit worthy. Okay, why did we need this system? Most people don't know that credit cards only started in the late 60s. What credit cards are unsecured debt. Before that, if you had a debt, let's say in olden days, before you, Ariana, when we raised sheep, if I wanted to borrow some money, I could, but I'd have to put up my sheep as collateral. All loans were collateralized by land, by sheep, by my crops. It was only in the late 60s that we had what's called unsecured debt. So if I have unsecured debt, how do I know if you're going to pay me back, unless I know you personally? Which in many cases, people knew. They knew their banker. They'd go to their banker and say, hey, Tom, you know me. I have this business. I'm living here. I want to buy a house on 23rd Street. And you would work it out. And usually it was a fairly large down payment in those days. But you were still a collateralized debt, right? With a car, it's somewhat collateralized, but not really, because you drive the car out of the showroom, it loses 20%. But a credit card has no collateralization at all. So they are trusting that you will pay them back. One of the ways the banks gets around that is they charge you so much interest. If a group of people doesn't, they're covered. But they're not going to go there. I'm just talking about FICO. FICO's a way that they can look at your report and see, is he creditworthy? Is she creditworthy? One of the things they look at, just so you know, if you're going to check your reports, and by the way, 60 Minutes did a show on credit reporting and found that 65, 66, 67% of credit reporting had errors in it. One of the errors could be your address. If you haven't lived at your address for at least 3 years, that brings your score lower. If you haven't worked at the same place at least 3 years, that brings the score lower. So keep that in mind. A lot of times, I'll go to my credit report, I looked at it at 10 different addresses. That's because I have a business address. I had a P.O. box, but I don't need all these addresses. It makes it look like I'm skipping around. It's important to have one address there. So if that's the case, correct it. Now, you have to correct it on 3 agencies. Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax. That's the people that leaked all your information. But they have all this information, and it's very important that you correct it. Well, that's one small thing, just your address and your work history. This proves stability. It adds to your points. So how do the points work? You could have as low as 300 or as high as 850. If you're 850, you're an angel. You're literally, you're floating.
Where do we find you?
Yeah, where are you? You can borrow anything with an 850 score.
And teach us your ways.
Do you know your score?
Yes, I do.
What is that?
Would you like to know?
Yeah.
You will probably be a little proud.
I would be. If
my credit score is right now 780.
Whoa! Wow! I'm still sitting.
Take a second to process
But I'm going to tell you mine.
Okay.
809.
Oh.
It's taken a while to get there, because 10 years ago mine was in the gutter, and it was when I was hit by a car. We'll go into that story later. Mm-hmm. And I had tremendous debt. So the other thing about a FICO score is, you get these credit cards. You get 2, 3, 4 credit cards, and then you charge up to your max. Whoa. Now your credit score goes down. You had a good credit score. They give you the money. You charge to the max. If you have more than 50% charged, so if I have 6,000 in credit availability, I should not charge more than 3,000. And most people go, no, I have 6,000. I'm going to charge it all. Well, you can. Now your credit score has gone down. So when you go to buy your next BMW, they're going to charge you more interest on your lease. So that's the second recommendation. Simple recommendations. Keep your balances at 50% or less. Okay? Two good clues for all listeners out there in Kansas, New York, Alabama, wherever you are.
Those are really good clues, because I didn't even know about that, Alan. And I try to do my best to take care of my score, obviously, and do what I can and look up into anything before I do make any big purchases. And I try to keep my, just in general, that low. But I know that there's a lot of people out there who probably do charge up. And I know there's a lot of people my age who charge up to their maxes. Okay. And I'm always telling them, why are you doing that? And now I know I have more reason to tell them, stop it, keep your credit card charges low, and only use them when you need to.
So I Ariana, I can't believe it, but we only have 5 more minutes.
Oh, my
We're
goodness.
going to have to do FICO and really get deeply into it, because there's a lot of more tricks. And I do want you to know that our company deals in credit repair. So if your score is low, we can help you to repair it. There's so many other things that affect it. There's late, there's amount of your mortgage, there's a lot. And we will get into FICO again next week. I know you're going to be traveling, but I will go over it. So let me just say a few things so you know. We're going to wrap it up tonight by saying thank you to all listeners live. And for those of you catching the recording later, thank you as well. We appreciate you spending the evening with us tonight. And to all our callers, which we did have a couple tonight.
Yeah, we did.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that you're angry. Because we're angry. We're angry at injustice. We're angry that we make money and it all goes out and we don't know where it goes. and we want to know.
And it's driving our credit scores down.
Right. And we don't want to get ripped off. Next Wednesday, I'm going to have an insurance executive. We're going to talk about insurance that's in the news all the time because it's open enrollment, and we don't know who's getting what from where, and who is Obamacare.
It's a big mess
not.
right now.
It's a mess. He's going to try to straighten it out. We're also going to talk about Wells Fargo. If you've done business with Wells Fargo, there's a lot of issues, a lot of class action lawsuits going on.
If you have accounts with Wells Fargo,
let's talk
wanted
about
or
it.
unwanted.
And credit card issues. Credit card issues. Now, I hope we get to these three topics. We never seem to finish our show. So, as a special promotion to all our listeners, FSN, Financial Sanity Now, is offering a free credit analysis. Text us at 310-384-4352. Let me say that again. 310-384-4352. And then put your name, put your email, and put the message FSN on UBN free credit analysis, okay? And we'll get you set up with an appointment. It's free. Let's find out where your credit stands. Additionally, we offer other services. Credit repair, credit card consolidation. We can lower your interest rate on your cards down to 0. Credit card reductions, mortgage rate reduction. You know, we're working with 2 people who are very ill now, and we have to reduce their mortgage payments. Medical debt negotiations. These are some of the many services we offer to help you and for you to keep financial sanity in your life. So check out our website at financialsanitynow.com. Check out our Yelp. We have great reviews, Financial Sanity Now. And call FSN anytime after the show at 818-906-2385. And remember, America, keep calling us with your stories. Remember, we're here to help you. But most of all, remember, we're not going to take it anymore.